It's true.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another show of Flyway Connections. My name is Chris. I'm here with my buddy Joe. Joe?
Hey, what's going on for you guys today? For the viewers, today we'll be talking about the basics of speckled hunting with none other than Haiden Richard of down here in Louisiana, and he's also part of Rice and Custom Calls. Hey, how you doing today, Haiden?
What's up, man? Hey, Chris and Joe. Yeah, I'm glad to be on the show, and thank y'all for inviting me. I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, like we were talking earlier today about you getting ready to be on the show, how'd you get into speckled belly hunting? Did you grow up speckled belly hunting, all the time, or is it kind of something you did, waterfowl and then got into the goose hunting later?
So my dad has always been a duck hunter, and I grew up in Erath, Louisiana, which is where we guide at now, which is Gaydon, which is like pretty much the heart of speckled belly hunting for South Louisiana, and it really has proven that. It's about 50 minutes away from my house, so I really didn't go there. I honestly thought that was like, as a kid growing up, 50 minutes away, it's far as hell. It's like, I ain't traveling over there. So I duck hunted south of my house. I duck hunted for a long time. And then probably when I was 14 or 15, I always blew duck calls. I was always I'm not going to say advanced, but I always had a knack for blowing duck calls. I would sit in my room, and when YouTube first came out, and that's kind of my age frame, right? Was YouTube was coming out while I was in like middle school, high school. So I learned how to blow duck calls, and I was very fascinated with it, and I wanted to do it. But I really didn't start. Let me rephrase this. So we were big deer hunters. My dad was a big duck hunter. I think when I became old enough to really duck hunt, we did it for a little bit and then we quit. So I really didn't get to duck hunt like I really wanted to. I was like probably 13, 14. So I didn't grow up in a livelihood where it was like duck hunting was my whole life. So I think that even made it worse, was the growing up not having it. Mm-hmm. So then fast forward to I was 15, 16. Somebody brings me on a speckled belly hunt south of Kaplan. We put out a bunch of old school silhouettes and this little flyer. We shoot our 6 specs. I was hooked. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I rolled back up to my house. I started buying cheap spec calls. I started learning how to blow spec calls. That's literally how it started. So then by the time I never got to spec hunt again, because you have to understand spec hunting and leasing blinds in the Kaplan Gaydon area is expensive. And it still is. It's actually way more expensive than back then. But back then it's $5,000 for a duck blind. That was retarded. I didn't think that was even possible. So my dad didn't want to pay that. He's like, I'm not paying that to drive 45 minutes away to go duck hunting, because we can hunt right here south of our house and shoot ducks. That's what we did. So needless to say, my way of spec hunting, because I was green as hell, was to guide. So that's how I was introduced into guiding, because I wanted to spec hunt. So yeah, I was always a duck hunter. I grew up a duck hunter. I'd kill a bunch of ducks, and I got really good at shooting ducks. And that's how the duck calling has always been my favorite too, for traveling and blowing duck calling contests. But spec hunting has grown my interest. And yeah, it was always, I guess when you don't have it, it's like it's not something you see every day. You want it more, right? But that's how I ended up being obsessed with spec hunting. So yeah, I started guiding to spec hunt. And then I quit. And then I think I was 25 and I was offered a job to run a guide service, and I did. And now I'm 31 and I own my own guide service for, I think this is the 4th year now. And I love it. That's all I do, chase duck bodies. And I'm fortunately that I have a great reputation for it. So it kind of worked out.
Nice.
Well, yeah, spec hunting was not always my deal. I didn't grow up in spec country. I consider myself an outsider when I go to Gaydon, because I'm not from there.
Yeah.
I'm a transplant, you can call it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of a Louisiana transplant myself. It's really weird with, when I tell people from, where I'm from originally, Northern California, people, that's the first thing a lot of guys bring up is spec hunting. And when I was growing up, the spec limit in California was 1 all through the 90s. was one spec. Yeah, but now, now it's 10. Yeah, when we shot specs, it wasn't because we were going for them. Like we had snows and spec decoys. It was just more of a confidence builder for the duck hunting in the rice fields. And then when they, if a spec came in and made a bad career move, then we shot our one bird limit. But yeah, so
that's how Gaydon was forever.
Yeah,
Gaydon. There was only a handful of people. And I'm gonna say one was Mervis Salzman. He blew a Shanghai specklebelly call. He was one that created it. There was only a handful of people down here that cared about spec hunting in the 90s and into the 2000s. Spec hunting did not get popular until the last, I'm gonna go out and say 8 years.
Yeah,
that's it. California too. Look at California.
Yeah,
California, there wasn't. I say 8 years. You could probably say 15, but the last 8 years, it's really, really, really.
Yeah, really took off.
Yeah, I think it's because of the population too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you
I think that and they taste amazing. I will say that. So.
Yeah, well, they are. They're great in the waterfowl category, but I think it's just because the reason why speckled belly hunting is so good and so awesome is because they listen too. It's like a Canada goose. Snow geese don't listen that well. You go blow out a Canada goose, you can take a Canada goose that's going nowhere near where you're going and what they call run traffic. You can run traffic with Canada geese. You can run traffic with speckled bellies. Once again, I think this is where we become fascinated with it.
Yeah.
Canada geese are not migrating like they used to, so here we are. Here's the spec.
Yeah.
So
which is insane. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. So I was saying for the beginning spec hunter, if you were to give 5 tips to a beginning spec hunter, what would be the top 5 things you'd tell of like your equipment and gear and things that they would need to know? Kind of like what taking out of some of the lessons learned that you've come up, especially guiding for specs.
So number one thing, and this is the most important, and anyone who knows how to kill specs will tell you this, it's hiding. It's understanding that when you decide to start hunting speckled bellies, it's not hunting ducks. It's not. It's the stuff that people get away with shooting ducks. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get away with it with spec. So to understand that concept. So I was brought up hunting down here where the duck hunting has not been that great the last 10 years. So if you didn't brush better or actually try to hide like crazy, like make everything look natural, you didn't really, that's how we kill more ducks than most people. So bringing that concept over into spec hunting. And I was very lucky that I had a few people that when I decided to start spec hunting again with the guide services, I had a few guys that came work. One guy came work for me. His name's Don Oliver. He came work for me or work with me. I can call it either way you want, but he was actually very, very helpful in my game because the guy understands it. But first tip is always hide. How you hide is the most important thing in spec hunting. Now, the only time hiding is not important is when there's a bunch of them. The rule of thumb for me is I can pass by a field and there's 500. Well, you better hide well. Pass by a field and see 5,000. Well, I'm pretty sure there's 20 dumb ones in there. Because trust me, a bunch of them are going to see you. That's just how they work. Number two, understand that blowing a spec call is not always your friend. More people hurt themselves in a spec call than they help. So somebody picks up a spec call, they think they're getting better, they instantly get a little confidence, they kill a couple chickens, juvies, and they start wanting to blow the call more and more and more. And all you do is you start creating the negative effect. So for somebody that's starting, understand that if you take care of all the variables as of hiding, decoys, correct, selecting the correct field or prepping your field correctly, the calling is not that important. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you have no choice. You got to work traffic. I get it. Calling is understanding how good you really are as a caller compared to how much calling you need to do. So that's number 2. Number 3, like I just talked about, setting up a field and decoys. I believe setting up a field, which should be always, plowed field, open ground. They love open ground. They not always love open water, but can be killed over open water. They love dry fields. They do. There's just something about them in a dry field that makes them feel a lot better. I'm not talking Dust Bowl dry fields. I'm talking, just not full of water on them. That's probably the next thing I'd say. And decoys. The least you think you can call, the more decoys you probably need. Also picking up and putting out decoys. That's probably one of the most important things when it comes to decoys, is not leaving decoys out, because these birds get really smart at figuring out where duck decoys are. Trust me, they do. They figure that out quick what duck blind looks like. So that's
good. That's interesting.
Yeah, they do. Trust me.
Yeah.
They know exactly what a duck blind is. They know exactly where duck decoys sit every day. So what I try to explain to people is, guys, we only come out here to hunt. They live out here. They fly probably twice a day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that when you leave your decoys on Sunday out and you show back up next Saturday. They didn't go home with you. Like, that's something like the new duck hunter don't hunt every day. So remember, the goose don't go home with you. He's gonna fly the same field every day. So probably picking up and putting out decoys when it comes to spec hunting is really important. Most guys want to shoot specs over duck decoys. What they think is that they can put spec decoys out of the duck blind, like a permanent duck blind that leaves duck decoys out. It works sometimes. It works on big north wind days when you're getting new birds. It works on big south wind days when you're getting birds pushed around. It doesn't work day in, day out. So trying to make people understand that. So you hear a lot of guys, Brooke Richard, people talk about, if you want to get good at killing specs, go just hunt specs. And that's because if you try to shoot specs over duck decoys and try to incorporate your spec hunting into your duck hunting, most of the time you're going to fail. But it's not because of you. It's because they understand the duck blind situation. Really quickly. I'll close the whole flyway.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, that's crazy. And I think, especially for me, because I'm actually in the Central Flyway, I'm in North Texas, and that's insane. And so me personally, dry fields here are insanely populated with Canadian geese. And I just moved back from Louisiana earlier this year. So last year I was in Louisiana. I hunted with Joe. A lot of my hunting was in Louisiana. So getting to know this area, I've only seen Canadian. Now, from my understanding, and you can kind of elaborate on this, specs will come down a little bit later. And hopefully I see some specs, and hopefully I see them in dry fields. There isn't much marsh here as there is in Louisiana, especially in North Texas. It's a lot of big open water. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'm struggling with, is trying to get specs down here. So, but as far as somebody in North Texas, what does it look like for them? Is it dry field? Is it looking for open water? I mean, what is the best idea for somebody like that?
So from what I'm understanding, when it comes to spec hunting in North Texas and that's Amarillo, Oklahoma area, right? A lot of that is done while shooting these Canada. And I think a lot of them specs, I think they do separate. A lot of times they kind of do the same thing, right? So if you're hunting water up there, you're pretty much probably hunting a roost, or you're hunting a loaf during the day, which is not always the best. If you ever watch all these guides that guide, they don't really do that often. I mean, I think they do that when they have to, more than anything, right? I think the mindset of every guide service is we try not to shoot a roost or a loaf unless we have to. Like, you don't shoot your honey hole unless you have nothing else. And I get that, and that's fine. It has to be done every once in a while. So I think specs up there is kind of like Arkansas. So Arkansas doesn't shoot I'm going to say the real spec hunters. The guys that target speckle bellies in Arkansas, they target a lot of dry feeds, and not just dry feeds, but even like a wet rice field. They target the feed, right? Not the roost, because all these birds end up roosting on these reservoirs. So it's actually kind of cool. In Louisiana, it doesn't work that way. The birds will feed and roost in the same areas every day. They'll get in a rice field and never leave it for 5 days. They don't even get out of it until they eat it out, because there's water in it. And I think something to do with a goose and water, I think it's safety when it gets dark. coyotes and stuff can't sneak up on them when there's 6 inches of water in it. You understand? Like, I think that's everywhere. I think that's just what a goose thinks, right? A goose knows that if it's sitting on water, a fox or a hound or a coyote can't just run up on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and that's my opinion on why geese. So when you get a feed that's in a lot of water, they don't have to leave because they're in water. And they got their water, they got their grit, they got their food, pretty much all in one spot. That's what we have here in Louisiana. That's the problem with Louisiana at times is we have trouble patterning geese because they don't really pattern. They just don't have to move. Arkansas, you can go to Arkansas and 30 minutes after shooting time at sunrise, they get up off the roost and they fly by the thousands. And it's amazing. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's clockwork. It's timed. It's it's like Canada. When I went to Canada and shoot the big boys in Saskatchewan, everything is pretty much perfect. It's easy. The only thing that throws them off is really cold weather. So same thing with North Texas. I think it's going to be more of you're going to have to hunt dry fields, and that's going to be perfect because you're going where. So let's put this into perspective. Talking about dry fields, all we're trying to do here is we want to be in front of the goose on where he wants to go, not what he's trying to pass up. Correct?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's why the dry field is so important. That's where they want to go. They want to go to the dry field. They want to go somewhere that's not open water with duck decoys. They know what that is.
Yeah.
They're looking for shallow water. Oh, that's what they always have been. Muddy, shallow water, right? Like that's kind of what they've always, to me, what they love.
And it's crazy.
If their feet ain't getting dirty, they probably don't like it.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy. And I'm glad you say that because, like, I want to say most of these geese, and whether a Spec, Snows, or even Canadian, they almost seem like the dolphin of they're just really smart, if that makes sense. So it's insane of how smart they are and how quick they adapt in understanding what's going on in their area, if that makes sense.
They do.
And just seeing that from firsthand for myself, it's like, wow, these Specs ain't dumb. Like they know, like,
but
you know,
let's be honest, geese mate for life, right? There's studies on it. Most geese that pair up for life. The fact that they know their partner for their whole life tells you right there they're not a duck.
No, yeah, and
like they have enough sense to understand that the person they first pair up with is who they stay with. They stay in family packs for years. I mean, that's shown from shooting collars and bands.
Yeah,
we got guys that shoot 3. I think one guy down here, there's a flock of 4 come in. They killed 3 of them. 2 were neck collars, and the other one was banded also. And they were all banded together like 4 years before that. They don't leave each other. So the fact that they have that much sense and that much knowledge to know they stay together, just remember that. They're going to remember what they're doing. They're not idiots. They're not dumb. They're not dumb. They figure it out.
Yeah.
That's why they're fun. That's why they're fun to shoot, though.
No, I agree with you. And I think, and I'm going to say I didn't shoot my first Spec, but Joe shot it in a rice field. But he was kind of.
I gave it to him.
He was kind enough to let me take it home. But man, I will say that just it is addicting, especially when it comes to geese. And I would say Specs for me. I would say just Specs for me because that's what I got really big into when I was in Louisiana. But now I'm looking into the Canadian because I mean that's all I see now. It is early for me here, and this is my first season. So hopefully I get to see more Snows and I get to see more Specs, and hopefully I get to enjoy the whole variety of geese that there is here. But it's insane of how smart they are, but how fun it is to and it's kind of weird. It's because I'm like you. I was big into big game hunting, so I was a really big deer hunter and stuff like that. So it's almost how insane how smart they are as far as mature deer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They understand that. Like down here, every day we hunt Specs. Every day we hunt Specs. At least 2 or 3 groups make us humble as hell. They'll come by, put their wings, lock up, put their feet out, give us a pass or two, then just straighten out and fly away. We're like, what the hell? They don't alarm call. No, they don't freak out. They don't flare. They just turn out and fly away. We're like, huh. All right. That's when you know. You're like, that's why it's so fun, right? Because it's even in Arkansas. I've killed a bunch in Arkansas last year, and I will tell you, as many as I killed, there was 3 times as many that's probably flared off of us. So even Arkansas has a bunch of smart birds, but there's so many that you can go through them, right? You just keep going through them until you get the dumb ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's almost like, at least for me, and obviously you've done this, you're a master at your craft, I would say, but you've done this a lot more than I have. So when it comes to like specs, it's almost like you find the dumb ones, but they're almost not so dumb when it comes to I don't know if they're immature or they haven't seen as much as the other speckle bellies, but it's crazy because it's almost like that chase that you're doing with them. You're playing a game with them almost.
Absolutely. Like when I went to Arkansas last year, I called them dumb, but people were like, man, they've been tough. And we go shoot the hell out of them. Like we literally kill limits like it was nothing. And everybody's like, man, it was that easy, huh? And I'm like, in my mind, the first answer is, yeah, it was easy. Like we killed, one afternoon we killed 40. And I mean, like we killed 40 of them. In one day I shot 66. One day I watched 66 die, all with customers. Like I literally,
oh wow,
we harvested 66 speckle bellies in one day. A lot of clients, a lot of run. Like it was fun. It was awesome. But in all those birds we shot, I'm telling you, thousands flared off of us. Like just bailed. I'm talking coming in, feet out, all of a sudden bail. Like just, I'm gone. And I'm like, oh my God. First time it happened to me in Arkansas last year, I was freaking out. First 20 minutes, I was losing my mind. I was like running around the blind. We were killing them. We need to kill 20 last year, early season. We had like 10 killed. But I'm telling you, hundreds flared off of us. And I was like, bro, this is not right. And I get out the blind. I'm trying to figure out what was wrong. And then I just look up and they just keep coming. They just keep coming. They just keep coming. And then, for every 5 flocks that flared, one would just come right in and die. And I'm like, all right. So this is the deal in Arkansas. It's just there's that many. So in my mind, I could say that they're not just dumb in Arkansas. There's just that much more of them.
Yeah, there's just a lot of them.
That's what we used to have in Louisiana. We had all these birds in Louisiana, so you can go through them. Now we're not having as many. So, if 5 flocks flared and you only saw 7 flocks that day, well, it ain't going to kill your limit. Yeah. It just is what it is.
So when you're hunting in Arkansas and you have customers, Haiden, you hear people talk on the internet and, with people watching YouTube about reading the bird's body language. Can you let us know, like when you're calling and you're trying to decoy these birds or get them to work, what body language for the listeners, what should they be looking at for looking for what the birds to do when like, hey, these might be workable birds and they might just do it right?
So there's 2 strategies to this. So one strategy is the finesse approach, which is a lot of guys who are good guides in Louisiana. Your best guides in Louisiana use the finesse approach. In other words, they finesse them. They don't talk much to them. They let them swing. They don't really give them a lot to go off of. In other words, less is more. If you do less, you make less mistakes, you have more success. So understanding body language. So a lot of people do less is more, which is, I say a lot of your great guides, we go back to earlier, understanding when not to call. Some of these guys who think they're good, they blow a lot, they blow a lot and they hurt themselves. A lot of them, like I said, we have really good guys in South Louisiana that can do half of what I can do on a spec call, and they kill just as many as I kill. because they've learned that less is more, and they just understand the chess game of it. They're, smart. They understand. They just as intelligent as the person I am or more. They understand the game. They've learned that they use what they have. So body language. So a lot of these birds, you want a bird that's loafing. So if you ever look up and see a bird crossing the sky, you kind of know if a bird's looking. They do a longer yodel. They do that. They do a longer yodel. That's kind of the telltale sign. That's something old people do say, and I guess I believe it because I see it a lot. Also, there's 2 sounds you do not want to hear, ever. If you ever hear a bird come over the top of it and he's doing, that's not good. That's the precursor to So when you start hearing that, that means shut up. I'm gonna tell you what that really means. That really means if they in range to shoot, the next pass they cross over you, you better pull the trigger because it's probably not going to happen. They start to get nervous. So when it comes to body language, that's 2 sounds you have to listen for. When you hear that's over. That's the bail sound. That's the I'm out of here. That's I'm going. But the little you hear a bird do. That's not good. That means that they've spotted you. Something's wrong. In that bird's mind, 70% of the time, 75% of the time, that bird's about to leave. Sometimes they make another pass and they do weird things. Sometimes I give it to them. But so that's your finesse approach. Your finesse approach is less is more. Be careful. Barely call them on the corners. Don't do much. Then you got the aggressive approach, which some of us have become great at it. I'm more of an aggressive approach. I'm more one of the guys that either come in or get out my way. Now, I've learned in South Louisiana, and like last year, I didn't really have that decision to make because I really didn't have that many birds last year. The year before, I had enough birds to work with that I could still play that game. So the aggressive approach is, which I love in Arkansas, is either come in or get out my way, which means when a bird breaks his wings and cups his wings, the only time I do not call out him when he's straight on top. Besides that, I stay on that bird and try to get him in the decoys as fast as I can. In other words, I stay aggressive on him, and kind of like a mallard. When a mallard comes over the trees and breaks back, and you hear those guys stomp on that mallard, right? When he's making that good turn, they stay on it. And they sit there and do, and those ducks just, like, it's almost like a magnet. They just draw straight into that call. Same thing with a speckle belly. If you have a bunch of speckle bellies to go through, you can really stay aggressive. And if that bird's tightening up, his wingtips are coming down, I stay on that bird, make sure he comes all the way to the decoys. But to do that, you got to be prolific on the call. You got to understand that you can't make mistakes. You got to sound like Spec. So there's a few guys out there, including me, and there's a bunch of guys down here that can do it. There's a few guys in Arkansas that, well, a lot of guys from here and that go up there and guide, and I know them. They can do it. They can stay on a call and kill birds. And especially when you have multiple good callers, they do that. They stay on those clucks and those birds just suck in like a dang vacuum cleaner. So when it comes to bird language or body language, if that bird is got a little flap to his wing, 2 things need to happen. Either you need to get on him, get off of him. If he got his wings just flat, he's coming, or he got his wings tucked, and you're not that great on a call, or you're getting better on a call, just let him come. He'll come. Trust me, there's sometimes a bird will bow up to you. He puts his wings down, he puts his feet out, and you can drop your call and grab your gun, and in 2 passes, he'll be back down the decoys. The best thing you can probably do is put your call down.
Yeah.
But the 2 things I will recommend, not body language, but listening to a bird. Understanding that bird. Like I said, they come over the top of you, they doing If you ever hunt with me, you'll hear me. Hey, what? Y'all get ready. Why? Because the next pass, we're going to have to shoot them. Why? Because they're about to leave. And guess what? The next pass, you don't shoot them. All right. Have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's crazy. So
yeah, they're very smart.
Yeah, that's insane. So when it comes to calling, so as far as like goose calling, and then let's just say somebody who's duck called their whole life, what differs from the spec calling, and as far as like just your regular quack out of your duck call?
So there's this conception that when people started switching over to goose calls, spec calls from duck calls, they thought this burst of air, which is actually the old school, or we'll have a call. You used to hear the people do the foo-foo, 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 because that's really easy to do. Everybody ends up picking that up before actually trying to adjust. Hold on a second. All right. So basically, like, instead of doing that, learning how to roll into these notes in spec call, and you're starting to see more guys do that. There isn't that much difference in a duck call and a spec call. Saying that, though, most people do not blow their duck calls with their throat. They blow their duck calls from their diaphragm, which is how a lot of people were taught how to blow a duck call and a spec call, especially with me growing up. They were taught how to blow from their diaphragm, from their lower. People used to say, right here in your gut, and you do foo-foo, right?
Yeah.
You blow from your gut.
Yeah, it's like singing.
That's not good. Everything needs to be controlled in the back half of your jaw, like all in your throat. Because when you control everything up here in your mouth area, with your back of your tongue and your throat, everything's sharper, everything's easier. It's like speaking. It's your voice.
I might be better at goose calling.
Well, we don't speak with our gut, right?
I'll stick with the whistle, Chris.
Our diaphragm.
Yeah.
Well, you don't speak. I don't know if this is the. That one's bad. All right, hold on one second.
Yeah.
So you hear that just now. What you're hearing a throat, right?
Yeah.
Everything's controlled in my throat, so everything is faster because I'm controlling it right behind my tongue, right? So. See, so I can be quicker and I can be faster. And the sad part is when you learn how to control everything from behind your throat, you become more efficient with your air. You don't get worn out as much. Yeah, everything's a lot easier to blow. So coming from a duck call to a spec call, if I have one piece of advice, so I have a spec 101, spec calling 101 on Riceland Custom Calls. I have a live feed, like 30 minutes of me talking about spec calling. Go listen to that because that really does break down how to roll into these notes. And honestly, man, that's probably the most important because once you learn to blow a call a certain way, it's almost impossible. It's not impossible, but it seems impossible for you to change your whole style of calling. Correct?
Yeah. And this live feed, is it on YouTube, you said, or it's on
no,
their
it's on the
Wrestling Custom Calls what Facebook page?
Facebook page. Yep. It's on
I got to check that out.
Page. It is. It's 30 minutes of me talking about spec hunting and actually calling. I actually talk a lot about spec hunting. I do. I throw a lot of tips in there, how single clucks is more important than this. Or that video really does give it a lot away. It does. And some people kind of don't know that, but some of that stuff in there is, stuff that a lot of us guys know and we don't really release. And we kind of did in that video. We didn't really talk about that we did, but if you ever go watch the whole thing, you'll hear some stuff in there that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now,
important part.
Finish up, Haiden.
No. So the most important thing out of all this, though, is not the calling. Literally, if you have to ask me again, what's the most important part? It's the hide.
Yeah.
So, I want to reiterate that because it's true. The hide is the most important.
So what call would you recommend for a beginner spec caller? Just get into it.
So there's two ways to recommend this. So price point and actual what you recommend. As y'all know, and y'all probably understand, most people know, Riceland makes a poly spec call that's really easy to blow. It's a great call, but it's got its own gut system. It's still good. I can pick up the poly call tomorrow as a guy that blows spec calls all the time. I can go kill geese with it tomorrow. I can lose every call I got, walk into any store in Arkansas that has them and pick up a poly call and go kill specs. Now, is it the best spec call we make? No. The best spec call we make at Riceland is absolutely their 3/4 gut spec call because it takes pressure really well. In other words, for the guys that do the hoo-hoo, ha-ha, the hoo-hoo, when those guys put all this pressure into that call, it doesn't lock up. It accepts the pressure range on it's a lot bigger. So for the guys that actually understand the new way how to call and the guys that blow the old way, it all meshes in that 3/4. So I blow a 3/4 every day. Now, the funny part is recently I started competing with a 5/8 again. So our 5/8 call is really good. In a certain 5/8 call tuned a certain way, it's hard to beat. But at the end of the day, I still blow a 3/4 gut spec call every day at geese. It's what I hunt with. It's what I like. The tone of it, the body of it, the volume of it. To me, it's second to none.
You ever dabble with that half gut?
Yeah, that's actually the call I was just blowing just now in here. So it's in front of me. It's one of the ones I used to hunt with. So I put it on my lanyard. I'll be dead honest. I started hunting specs with a half. What was that? I started hunting specs with a half, and then I went to the 5/8, and then I went to the 3/4, and I always kept a 5/8 on my lanyard. So the half, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Now, does it have its place? Absolutely. Can I blow it? Absolutely. But in my mind, I've always blown a 3/4. I've always blown a 5/8. So that's kind of what I stick with. But for most guys that blow really soft, a half normally fits them.
All right, and that's what I was kind of getting. What place does that call, have? You say?
So it's to me, it's a gap filler. It really is. Not a gap filler. It complements the other calls. In other words, for a really advanced caller, somebody that wants to have a half on its lanyard just in case maybe that day those specs are being weird and you really got to play the finesse game, I probably blow a half.
All right.
But then the guys that blow really soft, the guys that want the softest call available, a half is it. I mean, dude, I sit here and I'm just barely pushing air through this call and it responds, right? And that's pretty much how every half-inch call is tuned. They'll tune them all very, very like on the lighter inside. Now you can blow these calls out. The 3/4 guts, really hard to blow a 3/4 gut out. In other words, make it lock up.
Yeah.
You understand? But you can lock up a half all day long. You can pick a half up and really blow into it, and it's gonna lock up. It's not made for that.
Yeah.
That's where the half stands. But honestly, a good 5/8 is hard to beat. It's a little bit more advanced in my opinion because you can blow it out. It does have some of those low end properties that are amazing, but I don't blow it. I don't blow it in the field that often. I hunt with a 3/4 because I feel like it doesn't make, in my opinion, when it comes to like all this little nitty gritty stuff that matters in contests, it don't make that much of a difference for hunting. So I don't like ground game in hunting. I don't like murmurs. I don't like scratch. I like really clean, high, crisp calls. I don't know why. It's what always is killed for me. It's what I'll always blow in the field.
Yeah. I'm actually really surprised because with the little calling you're doing, Joe hasn't pulled up his calls and started calling. So I'm actually really excited. Yeah, he's restrained himself. It's crazy. He's like, he's using them and just start pulling those calls now. And we're about to have a calling competition on the show right now. It's crazy. It's like,
that's what's up, man. I'm in, dude. I'm in. I got one next week. I think it's the duck calling.
Yeah, well, we don't want Joe to lose again. So
who are you competing against next week?
Yeah. Are you blowing next week or no?
Nah. I just retired out of the Army after my whole adult life in the Army, and I have to get a regular job now and start adulting in the regular world.
That's always fun.
Yeah. So, what state is it you blowing next week?
It's in Tyler, Texas. It's just a meat calling contest.
Nice.
Oh wow, that's actually
not far from you.
only 2 hours away from here.
Yeah, about 3 hours.
Lindale, Texas. It's a meat contest. So I'll blow in the single, and I'll probably blow in 2-man with Domingo Sanchez. So that's probably what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Were you here in the big that DU event in Texas?
Yeah, I'm actually staring at that $5,000 huge Happy Gilmore check right now.
Okay, so I was actually there too, and I actually it's crazy that I kind of missed some of the calling, but I volunteered to do the whole shotgun booth, so I was there helping with the Benelli and whatever, and with the shotgun.
You were like
booth.
5 miles away. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the other side, and like it's crazy how far it is. Like I had to take I don't know, a vehicle over there to get to the where y'all were at inside. So
y'all want to laugh real quick about like my whole life story about how much I love duck hunting. So, I love duck hunting. Like I literally loved football, loved sports growing up. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world to play football. And I'll never forget my last game of my senior year. Everybody was crying their eyes out. Next day was duck season, and I'm the big old guy in the middle smiling away. Everybody's like, "You all right?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." Everybody's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "I'm great." My dad walks up. He's like, "You okay, Papa?" And I'm like, "Duck blunge ready tomorrow?" He's like, "Yep." I was like, "I am fucking excited. I'm ready to go shoot ducks." So that's always been me, right? I've been a duck hunter. But the problem is I've always had a love for fishing. So let me tell you what happened to me in Dallas. So I'm in Dallas enjoying myself, and I blow in this big regional, and I win the $5,000. And sitting in front of me when I get this check is Seth Fighter, which is like a professional bass fisherman, right? So I was like freaking out. I was like, God, I'm going to go shake Seth Fighter's hand. Dude's cool as hell. He's a professional bass fisherman, right? So he ends up disappearing before I can go catch him. And I'm like, God dang it. So then I was like, he's at the Ball Shot Shows booth over there by you. So I was like, oh, I got to get over there. So I literally figure out, I was like, where is this stuff at? They're like, oh, it's like a drive, right? I'm like, never mind, I ain't going. So,
yeah.
The whole time I'm on stage getting my $5,000, I'm literally sitting there thinking to myself, how the hell do I go catch Seth Fighter to shake his hand? Because that's all I cared about. I love duck hunting. I love duck hunting, but man, I have this weird love for bass fishing right now, like big time.
I think and it's crazy. It's crazy too, because I think that's anybody who's a waterfowler, because it's just getting back into the water and you're bass fishing, whether it be crappie fishing or whatever it may be. You're out there fishing, and you're still in the water, and you're still getting at it. You're still going after it. So,
I don't think you understand when I tell you. Like, I got a 20-foot full size bass boat I bought 2 years ago last year, and like. The full-fledged, like, top to the gill with tackle and rods, and like I fish tournaments now. Like, I cut a check this year. I missed. I think I placed 5th in a good one. I am like 8 up with it. It's almost the same story I had for duck hunting and spec hunting. Like I never really can. Like it's like a far grasp, right? Like, I can't really grab it yet. So like I'm like obsessing over it.
You ever fish out of states any?
No, not yet. Like, oh, it's gonna happen though.
Yeah.
I was like, be prepared. It's gonna happen. Like, I am done. Kind of like this spec hunting. Spec hunting started, like, this duck hunting stuff all started here. Like, I never thought I would travel and do this. And I've been to Canada. I go to Arkansas and guide now. It's like, oh God.
It's living the dream.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I've shot sea ducks in Maryland for the World Live Duck Calling Contest. I went up there to shoot sea ducks and blew in the World Live, and it's definitely something that damn sure didn't think somebody from the Erath, Louisiana would do. So
yeah, that's crazy. Well,
you need to make it back over to California and get yourself one of them big double-digit bass,
dude. So yeah, there. I want to go to Mexico. I want to fish Alabama. Oh, it's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna ruin me. I told my wife the other day, I was like, "Oh, I'm done. Like, I'm ruined." She's like, "What?" I was like, "I'm ruined. Like, I love to bass fish." So
yeah. That was my big thing growing up. So we bass fished a lot. Like, I was,
and now
we duck hunt a lot. But we fished a lot.
And so now you probably like spec hunting more than you bass fish, right? So.
Oh yeah, I definitely duck hunt more, and I think what bass fishing. I mean, I grew up, and me and Chris, we had made an episode with my dad. My dad guides saltwater fishing back in California. We got, growing up in California, the rice fields. It's a lot like hunting down here, and California's real big on the rice and all that, and the marsh. I kind of fell in love with it. Where growing up fishing, I want to say Chris actually made a calculation talking about my dad the other day. When we fished, there was, what'd you say, Chris? It was, we add the days up.
It was almost like a month, maybe a month and a half of like non-fishing. Yeah, it's crazy.
So fishing got to be almost like a chore for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad chore to have, but duck hunting ended up becoming like more of the hobby, and the fishing was kind of more of a work. I mean, I still love to get after it and bass fish. But
that's where I'm at. So
yeah. So getting back to the specs, before we get ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, before we talk about too much bass fishing, I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, man, by the way, if you're ever in Texas, you want to bass fish, let me know. I mean, I'll be more than happy to go out with you or even take you. I got a little war eagle I take out too, so
yeah. I'll drag my Vexus with me. How long?
I think your boat's a little bit more fancier than mine.
Yeah.
Oh, I love mine, man. It's been a fun ride. So with Spec, let's get back on.
With your decoy spread, because I know decoys have definitely changed from when I was a kid to now. How big and what kind of decoys do you run, especially guiding? Because you see. We've had Real Goose decoys on here. We've done reviews on tangle-free socks and silos and full bodies. With all this new, and I don't say new, it's kind of like a circle. For a while in the early 2000s, everything was full bodies and everything. But you go back to the 80s and 90s, like when I grew up duck hunting and goose hunting, it was silos and the socks and the Texas rags. So what do you use and what do you recommend for the newer hunters?
So at the end of the day, no matter what you do, it all depends on where you hunt. So right now we're having a issue we're starting to have more crawfish swarming in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start off with this. So we're starting to have more crawfish swarming in Louisiana. Therefore, you're starting to see a lot more flooded rice. So geese are starting to utilize more a foot deep of water in rice that's not harvested for crawfish. So what I started doing, which I'm kind of known for recently, and everybody around here knows I own a big floater spread. So, and I run this floater spread on one particular blind. It's a crawfish blind, and it gets crawfish every other year. But even on the years it's not crawfish, I'll fill it up with water. I run a bunch of water, and I run a bunch of floaters. I'm talking like 15, 20 dozen floaters. I don't pick them up. I don't run no duck decoys. It's straight Spec floaters and like 2 or 3 dozen snows and blue floaters. They're all Haiden. They're all foam filled. It's amazing. And it works. But it works in that area because that area is a real good traffic area. They don't utilize it every day, so they don't get used to it as well. When you move down south, which is where we call down south, 6 miles south of that blind, it's the heart of Gator. It's where these birds live. When we get down there, one thing that's most important than anything is picking up decoys. So because you have to pick up decoys every day, you can't run big spreads. So you can't run big spreads. Let me finish this. So we run 2 to 4 dozen full bodies. We put them out, we pick them up. Recently, this big old silhouette industry has blown up. And I guess I'll say it because only a few people know I've been doing this, but I'm invested in some silhouettes. Now, I am a full sponsor of Haiden, 100%. It's a partner of mine. I run them for teal season. If Haiden ever made a silhouette tomorrow, I'd have a bunch of them. We don't run silhouettes, but maybe 10% of the season. What we've learned to do is with the silhouettes is I kind of got them for Arkansas, and I use them at home every once in a while because every once in a while when things get tough, you need numbers. And where the silhouettes really work down here is on big wind days when there's not many birds around. So we'll go out there and put 30 dozen silhouettes out. And this big wind day, so they really can't circle us a bunch of times. And we'll end up getting a bunch of birds on the first or second pass. And we shoot them and we kill them. Most of the time, 90% of the time, we run Haiden full bodies, Haiden floaters. We've pretty much eliminated all our duck decoys. In other words, if we're going to kill ducks, we shoot them basically over the Haiden floaters or the Haiden full bodies. Duck specs. We don't run any duck decoys anymore. So it's up to that. So the only reason the silhouettes are becoming so popular and you're seeing the full circle is they used to be silhouettes back in the day.
Yeah.
Nobody ran 30, 40 dozen of them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think back to when you used to see silhouettes. Like you saw what? 5, 6, 10 dozen.
Yeah.
Kill geese. Well, the 5, 6, 10 dozen of silhouettes didn't cut it no more. You had to go to full bodies. Now you're seeing this new revolution of 30, 40 dozen silhouettes. So people are running. I'll raise my hand. I'm one of them. I have them because when I go to Arkansas, that's what we're going to run. We're going to run 30 to 40 dozen silhouettes on one blind.
Yeah.
4 guys can put that out in 20 minutes, pick it up in 15.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's efficient and it's numbers.
What do you think? What do you think? You kind of said this earlier or in this conversation. What made it go from, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s where you didn't need these big spreads to now needing monster spreads? Is it the education of the birds, you think, or?
Well, it's the relevancy of everybody having it. Think about it. Think about when the Mojo first came out, when the flapper duck first came out. You had everybody, not many people had them. Now, there's 30 Mojo teals sitting outside my house tonight, right now.
Yeah.
I got 30 of them for 4 duck blocks, for 4 teal blocks. That's 30. That's what we run for teal season. We run 5, 6, 7. Sometimes we run 10 to 15 Mojos on a teal block to shoot these big balls of teal. They're so available that as everything becomes available, it becomes less relevant. So in other words, as when full bodies first came out, if you had a dozen full bodies, you were big time. Now, hell, I got guys over here that got 2 dozen full bodies. 20 dozen full bodies.
Yeah.
When I go to Arkansas, the guy I work with, Zach Fox. Zach Fox is absolutely taking care of me and gave me basically a second home in Arkansas. He's amazing. The man he's got probably 30, 40 dozen silhouettes. I probably got the same. He's got 15 to 18 dozen avian X full body.
Yeah.
So if we don't want to run silhouettes, we can go put out 15 dozen full bodies on one setup. It takes longer. It takes more work. So yeah, when it's not as hard to kill them, of course we're not going to put the full bodies out. But that's the point. Everyone has this now. The hunting has become so popular and money has become nothing to duck hunting. Money is nothing. Think about the shotgun shells we buy now.
Oh yeah.
It's insane. I've been lucky to have partnerships with Riceland Custom Calls, Higdon Outdoors, and Presley's Outdoors. Kelly Presley has taken care of me for multiple years. Love him to death. I go up. I just went to see him. I just went to see him again in August. That's my guy. Me and Kelly has always worked deals out, and I've been the luxury of Kelly helping me out. And I've always tried to promote his products. Like I said, Presley's Outdoors. They're up in Illinois. They have everything. Right now, what they don't have, like everybody else, is shotgun shells. So yeah, I'm kind of on my own shotgun shells. I just paid $240 for a regular case of steel.
Yeah.
And I didn't bat an eye because I can't find it. But just imagine, think about all this tungsten and bismuth. And all this.
Well, I didn't want to let you know how much money I spent in bismuth this season getting ready. Yeah, I don't even want my wife to know if she's listening.
Yeah, so money has become nothing to the duck hunt industry. Think about it. Think about the thousands and thousands of dollars on shotguns and shells and decoys and blinds. So as you make these decoys that now it's accepted that you need 10 dozen full bodies. Yeah. Full bodies, everything has become irrelevant to, exactly what you're seeing. Geese have figured this out.
Yeah.
They're seeing it every day. Just like the Mojo duck, when the flapper, whatever, I forget who made it. Was it Lucky Duck or who made the first one?
I want to say
it wasn't Lucky.
No, it was Mojo. Well,
it was Mojo out of Louisiana.
Robo Duck.
It was called the Robo Duck. You were right.
Out of California, right?
No,
they're Robo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was out of California.
It was here in California. Yes, both.
Yeah.
So the guy went back and forth. So when the Robo Duck came out, it was the hottest thing ever. And then Mojo came out, and it was like, if you didn't have a Mojo, it didn't matter. Now, how many guys you see don't run Mojos? They run like the Wonder Duck, which only splashes the water. Haiden Pulsator, which only splashes water.
Yeah.
The duck swimmers. Now that's becoming. So you don't think, and so just right there shows you that this waterfowl, this whole population of ducks and geese are becoming accustomed to what we're throwing at them.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. So decoys will always evolve. It will always become a numbers game. And the more decoys we can buy, so it happens here. So numbers become the biggest thing. Then at the end of the year, it becomes a deal where you only need 4 or 5 decoys. If you don't have 5 decoys out or 4 decoys out, and you got 2 dozen out, specs don't come in.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to seeing 2 dozen specs everywhere. Think about it. Think about what everybody else is doing. If you follow everybody else, then you're just part of the system.
Yeah.
So they're already what it is.
It's eventually breaking that monotony up and giving something different to the birds than the sea. Yeah.
That's exactly what the Robo and the Mojo Duck did, right? That's exactly what's happening with this silhouette industry.
Yeah.
Nobody used to hunt with 40 dozen decoys. Now you could put 40 dozen decoys out with 4 guys in 20 minutes. Now you can actually efficiently hunt with 40 dozen decoys.
Yeah, and decoys now are getting lighter and everything. Lifetime decoys, and they came out with those UV foam ones. You can take the weight keels off and all that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So like, the only reason the silo industry is becoming popular is because we have accepted the fact that 20 dozen, 30 dozen decoys is normal.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's easy just to carry that many with silos.
Yeah. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
If right now you told me I have to go hunt with 5 dozen silhouette spec decoys everywhere in this country, I'd laugh at you. I'd be like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. That's retarded. Like, no, there ain't no way I'm going with 5. I'll go put 5 dozen full bodies out. Now, if you told me, well, how about 30 dozen silhouettes? I'd be like, well, I'll make it work. I can make a big spread with that, right?
Yeah.
So you see where this numbers game is.
Number games,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you being a guide, and I was talking about trends. Now, like the last, 5 years, I'll say, maybe a little more than that. Last 5 years, you've really been seeing it, is this sub-gauge gun trend. Being a guide, what do you think about, especially shooting some geese, about this, people hunting these geese with sub gauges?
I don't approve of it. I shoot a 20 all teal season. Yeah, absolutely. I understand the sub gun gauge. So I will not shoot a 12 gauge if I go teal hunting or I go shoot ducks in a marsh. If I know I'm going duck hunting, I will no longer bring my 12 gauge. Only because I enjoy my 20 gauge. I know it don't kick. I'm really accurate with my little SX320. But so I shoot teal with regular steel shot, number 6s. For duck season, I have Kent bismuth number 4s. I will tell you right now, those number 4s in bismuth, crush them. It's like shooting lead shot. I love shooting ducks with them. Can I kill geese with them? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I shoot heavy metals or BB. I shoot BB every day at geese. I tell everyone that hunts with us, bring your 12 gauge, bring BB, because a goose is hard to kill. I understand the sporting quality of it. And I understand that there's times where I've done it. We've called it a gentleman's hunt. I've been on a spec hunt with 4 people. We all shot 20 gauges. We killed our 8 specs. It was 3 years ago. We crushed them. We shoot our 8 specs. It was awesome. We had a fun time. Will I do that guiding? Probably not. Because it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to kill a goose, especially a speckle belly at 40 yards. It's just not easy to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I understand the sub gauge. Trust me, I wanted a 28 just like everybody else. It's becoming the new thing for teal season. It's okay to do it. I shoot a 20 every day, and I kill them just as good as any 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Once you pattern the 20 gauge and get the right shell and the right choke and get it right, it's hard to beat a good little 20 gauge.
Yeah.
It is.
So what choke what choke do you like use running?
So I have 2 systems. I have Pattern Master systems and Kicks systems, which actually in my 12 gauge I went to Jeb's last year and I loved it.
Yeah.
I actually wanted a duck calling contest. I shoved it in my gun. I started shooting heavy products out of it, heavy steel, heavy metal, heavy bismuth, out of a Jeb's extreme range out of my 12, and it actually holds a lot of those shells together really well. But in my 20, I shoot a Kicks full for my Kent bismuth, number 4s, and then for teal season, I shoot Kent teal steel number 6s. I shoot a Pattern Master out of it.
Uh-huh.
So what I've learned is Pattern Master loves slow shells. 1,300 feet per second. Try to find, you should test that shell with a Pattern Master. Pattern Master loves slow shells. Takes really good, makes amazing patterns with a slow shell. When you start getting to that 1,400, 1,450, 1,500, that's when Pattern Master seems to start going downhill in pattern testing. So that's where I recommend the Kicks, the Jebs that don't have stud rings in them.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. That's my opinion. I've put a lot of shells on paper. That's what I've figured out. I love Pattern Master on slow shells, but when you start getting to the heavy products, which heavy shot, they're heavy metal, heavy steel. A lot of their shells are a lot hotter than normal. They shoot a lot of 1,500 feet per second.
Yeah.
So
I think with
Pattern Master,
like those heavy speedballs are shooting like almost 16 something.
1,600, yeah.
Speedballs.
I've learned in life that heavy products and Pattern Master don't go together. It is what it is. And that's just my opinion, right? Like, I love shooting my Kicks. I love shooting, like I said, I got a Jebs now, but man, I like a Jebs. I already do. I'm probably going to get me another one soon.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys that shoot Jebs. Old Stump from RM Calls. He's a real big into. He's always been trying to get me to Jebs. He swears by him.
Like Stump.
Yeah, Stump's good.
They're great. Like I said, the only time I feel like the Jebs or the Kicks or like Kicks chokes. I've shot Kicks chokes all my life, and I love them. They have their place. They do really well with like 3.5-inch shells. A Kicks full choke and 3.5-inch shells, like fast shells. Trust me, that Kicks choke does really well. It's not too constricted. It's not too much going on. It doesn't have a bunch of flyers. So in my opinion, when you choke something down too much, there's only so much you could put through so much, right?
Yeah.
So you start having that over
pressure
exertion of energy. Yeah, the over exertion of energy.
Pressure.
Yep. Yeah. Start having flyers, start having all that crazy stuff. So Kicks does really well. As people ask me all the time, what's the best choke you think? And I was like, you want a choke that's all around? Yep. Go buy Kicks High Fire full choke. Why? Because it shoots everything pretty good. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no matter what you shoot through
rounded.
it's not terrible. Yeah, it's whatever you shoot through it's not terrible. Now you're gonna find your shells that work really well with it, but everything you shoot through a Kicks High Flyer full choke, there's not gonna be one where you're like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
It's true. It's literally what you're gonna find. And with the Pattern Master, I found the other way. I found shells that you cannot beat with the Pattern Master. Then you go shoot a 1,500 feet per second shell out of it, and it's like shooting a cylinder choke. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Right now I shoot a Pattern Master Code Black Duck. So.
I'm staring at one right now, and then
like I said,
that choke right there with 1,300 feet per second shells. trust me, it's hard to beat.
Yeah,
that's probably one of my favorite chokes as well.
Yeah, hey, shoot slow shell. If you ever question your choke, just shoot slow shells through it. Trust me, it's it's on their website. It's on everyone's website. They all tell you that the Mueller chokes. That guy Mueller, we talked to him in Maryland. That guy is probably one of the most sophisticated guys to build a choke tube, and he'll tell you the same thing. That all this 1500 speed, all that speed stuff doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
It's hard to control a really hopped up race car, is what he told us.
Yeah.
He said, so you understand, like the faster the car goes, the harder it is to control it down the track. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, yeah.
It does. But I mean, even if you like shooting the I know Joe shoots a lot of them heavy X's and stuff, so that's something to even keep in mind of like looking into the jabs and stuff as far as like shooting them that high velocity feet per second. So,
Joe, if you shoot a bunch of heavy products, I'm telling you, a kicks 4, jabs 4. Oh man,
this year in Teal
hard to beat.
I felt like I couldn't mix with those, and they were the heavy bismuth through that code black pack, and they do shoot 1350 feet per second.
Yeah,
but I do shoot a lot of heavy I shoot a lot of Boss.
Now I'm gonna tell you this: if you shoot Boss, those stud rings in that choke, I'd help you.
Yeah,
because anything bismuth is fragile.
Yeah.
Fragile. I've seen guys shoot specs with Boss last year, and they were shooting on the pattern master, and they would kill them. I give them that. We started breasting these specs out, and there was literally fragments everywhere.
Really?
Oh, half BBs everywhere in these breasts. And I was like, man. And you go back and you ever watch the Boss people, they shoot everything out of factory chokes.
Yeah, factory chokes,
yeah.
There's a reason for it.
Yeah, when I shoot my Boss, I have a pattern master without stud rings.
That's exactly what probably like what is it? So they got the Anaconda.
Yeah, the Anaconda has the little gas rings, but they're what was it? They're what is it? They're Black Cloud. They're Black Cloud series. They shoot. They're smooth board because they're meant for those control flight wads. So I just really like when I'm duck hunting, especially where I hunt a lot in Lacassine. I hunt that Lacassine brackish water a lot. Yeah. So I usually like a extended choke because I'm always afraid that's gonna get corroded in there. And that Lacassine water likes to rust everything pretty quick.
Oh yeah. So. No, and I understand that. But like I said, to most people, I'm really big on that. Like, I mean, I have a problem with really, really focusing on shells and chokes.
Yeah.
Because I believe you have to understand, we're shooting a scatter gun.
Yeah.
We're not shooting a rifle. We're not shooting one bullet that we can modify and precision put it in a spot. We're shooting 100 DBs and hoping that they all stay together and they all make it on target.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're taking a chance every time we pull the trigger. So the chokes, the shells, the patterning, the putting it on paper, if you don't do all that, you don't really try to focus on what your gun's spitting out the end of its barrel, you really are just hoping and crossing your fingers. It's scary. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, that's going back to what you said earlier, like, how much, people are willing to spend on duck hunting or just waterfowl hunting in general. Coming from ducks, geese, the cranes, the swans. If you're going to spend that much money, you need to, put the time into patterning and, finding what shell works with what choke, shooting skeet in the off season. Yeah, because I think it's funny. There's some people I know who just pattern, but they never go out and actually shoot some clay, a moving target. Yeah.
Well, my deal is this. So I tell everyone that hunts with me, they call me, what do you think? I'm like, listen, the shotgun shells you're going to shoot tomorrow is the cheapest part of your hunt. The gun's more expensive. The $250 a gun you're paying to shoot specs with me is more expensive. Everything you're doing is more expensive than that $30 box of shells that you don't want to buy. I tell everybody this. What you think I should get? Business number 2s? Yep. With your factory choke and full in it, shoot business number 2s. So boss number 2s, heavy bismuth number 2s, heavy X number 2s. I tell people, because remember, heavy X used to be like readily available at Academy.
Yeah.
Nobody would buy them, right? Nobody would buy heavy X, ever. I would tell people all the time, go to Academy, a box of heavy X. It's probably going to cost you $35. Just buy one box, put your factory choke tube back in the gun, bring that tomorrow morning. I've had guys show up and kill more geese than they ever thought they would, shooting specs at 40 yards, 35 yards, killing them dead as a doornail. Literally look at me and goes, these shells are so awesome. And I'm like, you paid for one hunt this year.
Yeah.
Spend your money.
Yeah. So, now I went to Academy Lake Charles yesterday, and then they don't even have an ammo aisle anymore.
Oh, God.
They completely took it out. There is nothing in the ammo. Everything where all the shells used to be is random shooting products, but it ain't nothing with a primer.
That's crazy.
Did you see the new buoy?
I definitely went to buoy. Oh, yeah.
They had a bunch of migra shells the other day.
The migra shells?
Yeah, they had a bunch.
So I have a funny story about migra. So we were hunting. I hunted the last day of teal season over there in Catahoula, and I have a buddy with Gilbert. You know, me and Chris used to hunt with him all the time. He's out here in Louisiana with me, and so we got stopped by a game warden out there on Catahoula, and he was checking our shells. I was shooting heavy bismuth. He looked at it. It says heavy bismuth on the shell, and he's like, "All right." So he sees my buddy's box of Niagara, and it says Niagara on it. It says steel. I think it was like the blended loads. It's like a 7.5.
They sell a bunch of 2s and 4s too.
And he did not. He looked at it and he was like, "I've never seen this." And I didn't even know that the game wardens even have this technology right now. Because back in the day, remember they used to run the magnet over it when the steel first came out. So he had this little computer system. He opened his shell and threw the shot shells, and it was able to tell you the density of the metal in it.
What?
Yeah. He did not believe. He's like, "I've never seen these. I don't know what these are." And I was like, "Well, I think they're out of Canada. I mean, they've been around for the last 3 years when they become kind of popular."
Yeah.
But he was like, he's like, "I don't know these." And he busted, crimped the shell open, ran the BBs through he looks like, "Oh yeah, this is 100% steel." And I was like, "Yeah, can you give me his $3 now?"
Yeah.
You just went.
They proud of their steel shot. Golly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I bought some Apex S3 steel the other day because I heard they're really clean. They perform really well. They're really consistent. I paid my money for them. I was like, oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted to try Apex tungsten.
Yeah, I'd love to pay for that, but that's $43 a box for 25.
Yeah, I know. Heck, I think last year I saw some tungsten, and it was the federal Black Cloud. I think I paid $40 for 10. I was like, they're good. They're good, but they ain't that good.
Here I am talking about money don't matter, but for somebody that shoots 3 cases of shells a year, I guess it matters.
Yeah, it does.
Most of these guys that hunt 6, 7, 8 times a year, it's like guys, like, yo, man, please just buy the shells, buy the good stuff.
Yeah.
I got guys that show up to come spec hunting with number 4s, 2 3/4 number 4s. I'm like, dude, here, shoot my shells. Why? I'm like, because it's going to save me a lot less headache than what I paid for them.
Yeah.
Just shoot these. These are going to work. Trust me. And they do, and they work. And then after that, they're like, I'm going to go buy some shells. I'm like, Heavy X. Just go buy Heavy X at Academy. It's there. Nobody wants to buy it. Number 2, Heavy X. I'm back tomorrow.
Yeah. Have fun trying to find that now, though.
Yeah, you can't find nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a Cabela's here. I have an Academy. I got another sporting goods here, and I can't find nothing. The only thing I've been able to find is the Federals and the Teal Shot that Kent came out with.
Yeah. I'm staring at about a case of Kent Business number 4, so my 20, 8 boxes of Kent 2.0 BB, 6 boxes of Heavy Metal BB, and that whole case of Apex. That's all I got. I said, well, I guess I'll just, hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to make it work, right?
Yeah. I think I heard Simmons and Bossier has a bunch of shells, but they don't advertise online. So it's like, you got to go there to get them.
Yeah, it's always a nice drive. I think for me, Simmons is about 3 hours.
Yeah, I got to go up there. We're going to pass through there going to Arkansas. I guess I'll stop in and see if they got shotgun shells. Hopefully, like I said, so Presley's does a big deal, like online stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll get some shells in soon. I ain't got to worry about none of that.
Yeah. I think Thanksgiving weekend, I'm gonna head up to Stuttgart to go see some buddies blowing the worlds. And I think I'll make the pilgrimage to Max's, and then the way I go, if I can hit Simmons, and then I hit I hit 2 of the biggest waterfowl stores around. So I can hit Simmons and then hit Max's when I get up there to Stuttgart.
Yeah, they got Webb's too in DeWitt. Yeah. But you'll be up there for Thanksgiving weekend?
Yeah, I was talking to some of my buddies. I was talking to Stump, and I think I might go see him because I think he's gonna try qualified to blow in Worlds, and I'll see if I think I have another buddy, Ben Perez. I think he qualified to go blow in Worlds this year. So it's
qualified.
Yeah, I think he qualified in North Carolina last year.
Yeah, I think it's only like 30 or 40 of us.
Yeah, it's really weird this one coming up because people qualified in 2000. They're letting them blow in the 2021. You would think it'd be a bigger turnout because you're having 2 years of qualifications.
Huh. You would think that. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But I don't know. I'll be there. I'll be up there, and I think me and my wife are going to drive up Friday afternoon. So I might guide Friday morning, come home, and then drive up.
Yeah. But yeah, if I'm there, I'll definitely try to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a shout, man. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I normally hunt Friday morning, Saturday morning, but this year I think I'm gonna take it a little serious and not hunt and sleep in and get my rest.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna
terrible about it.
Yeah, I gotta try. I gotta make my way up there too. So hopefully, I'll be able to go up there. But as far as anything else, Joe, do you got anything before we?
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Big Shay, appreciate you, Haiden, for coming on. Thank you for giving
man.
Super informative Spec podcast. And appreciate it. Hopefully I'll run into you in Stuttgart.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, if anybody on here listens to this, so there's this to listen to, and like I said, if you want to reference back, there's a Spec Calling 101 on Rifle Custom Calls. Trust me. It's 30 minutes long, but if you're taking this serious, it's 30 minutes of goodness, man. Just like this, right? Yeah. And it actually, I get on there, I turn a call backwards, and I actually show you how to make these notes, and I pronounce everything out. It really is the 101 of Spec Calling, so it'll help out.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really appreciate you being on the show with us. It was really informative. I know we can go on for another 2 hours, but
absolutely.
I got to be the time police and stuff. So I hate to do it, but we definitely got to get you on again later on this season. Let us know how your season went later on.
No problem.
But like always, I want to thank everybody who supported us so far, Valiant Honor Outdoors. I want to thank them for what they do for service members, veterans, and first responders. I want to thank my buddy Joe, and like always, y'all have a good one, and let valor not fail.